Picture this. On his 50th birthday, your uncle packs his bags, leaves his wife of 20 years for a supermodel in her mid-20s, buys a new Indian motorcycle, and rides off with his new boo into the sunset. From a societal standpoint, most would call this a midlife crisis, a time of emotional turmoil that affects one's sense of identity and self-confidence as they face the harsh realities of life, such as unfulfilled dreams and long-standing dissatisfaction with their life. While the phenomenon itself isn't new, as it is mentioned as early as the mid-1200s, it wasn't until the 1960s that the term midlife crisis was attached to this specific stage of life. A man by the name of Elliot Jacques is credited with the introduction of the term in 1965, and by 1994, at least 86% of young adults surveyed believed in the concept of a midlife crisis. There are many factors contributing to this thinking trend of midlife crises, not the least of which is Hollywood. In films such as Midnight in Paris, Lost in Translation, and one of my personal favorites, Groundhog Day, the main character is a middle-aged man whose life has become the epitome of monotony, and the only way for him to escape it is for him to reinvent himself. With so many Americans nowadays, more than 55%, believing that anywhere from ages 40 to 60 is a time of turmoil, I decided to investigate the thoughts of those people who are closest to me to help me draw my own conclusions about this oft misrepresented life stage. These are just going to be a few general questions about midlife crises or life crises or what have you. You know, the answers they can be broad or specific or anything like that. Whatever you feel comfortable answering. If you don't feel comfortable answering, just let me know. So whenever you're ready, I'll get on with the first question.
First question.
All right. So what is your definition of a midlife or life crisis?
When you run out of money.
That's definitely a midlife and a whole life crisis.
Just a whole life.
You run out of money.
Yeah.
I think anything that keeps you from achieving your goals, whether it's midlife or whatever.
Or feeling good about yourself.
Yes.
Like, what do you think maybe may cause a midlife crisis? Do you think it's like maybe an imbalance in something in your brain, or is it more like environmental things that go on around you that kind of make you think that maybe this isn't where I want to be, where I want to go in life, and that's what in turn makes someone, you know, go out and buy a new Porsche, or your uncle wants to go and drive a motorcycle?
I don't think so. But those things, I don't know why they would be a midlife crisis. When we were younger, we wish we could get a Porsche. We couldn't do it, couldn't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Older, we got smarter. We didn't want a Porsche. And then we can't get in that damn car as easily. But what causes a midlife crisis? I guess.
I think if you're not prepared for change.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, anytime you have a crisis, it requires change, whether it's midlife or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't remember having, quote, a midlife crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I'll remind you after we get off camera.
Oh, well, remind me now, because I need to remember. Maybe it's memory. When your memory goes, I'm sure that's a midlife crisis when you lose your memory.
So do you think that men or women are more susceptible to life crises, and why?
I think both, but men are less talkative about theirs. They're less.
Would you say they're more action-oriented, other than word-oriented, if they're going through a crisis?
Yes, because I will, when I get upset about something, I will probably go sit and think about it and cry a little. And Charles will start getting busy, cleaning the house, washing the car, and then he'll go to sleep. And I can't sleep.
Crisis averted.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll sleep right through that crisis. But I don't know, men. I think men go through the change too, just like women. But it's, you know, if they thought about it more, they talk about it more, just like with breast cancer. If men had breast cancer, there would have been a cure, because I still believe it's a man's world. So, and you hear about these women getting divorced after 38, 40 years of marriage, and a man married a 25-year-old. That's a midlife crisis. That's what that is.
True. So you said earlier that you remembered maybe that Papa had a midlife crisis. So were there any behaviors that were indicative, and that's why you knew, or that's why you said that?
Yeah. When he actually got out of the Marine Corps, I think it was a time for him when he wasn't sure what he was going to do.
Kind of adjusting to civilian life after.
And see, he's thinking now.
Well, yeah.
Because he was saying, well, I'm going to stay home for a year and rest. Oh, from what? He said, from the Marine Corps. I said, I'm the one been working. You've been traveling, flying all over the world. No, I think I need a rest. Okay, fine. But I was in HR then. I was a recruiter. And I had a good friend who was a recruiter. And I said, hey, my husband's getting out of the military. You've got to help me find a job. We're going to get a divorce. She said, you're not serious. Oh, yes, I am.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
Well, now, Charles, he didn't know what to do. And he didn't want to admit he didn't know what to do because he's the head of the family. You know, he takes care of all of us, right?
Yeah, I think, what you said when I got out, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do or what I could do. I mean, there was a lot of things, but I didn't have a plan. When I got out, I wanted to get out.
He was scared. I wasn't. I knew he was.
Well, I wasn't scared, but I just didn't know exactly what and I knew that I had responsibilities. Here we have 4 kids, getting ready to go into college, and I'm thinking, and me with no job, I had retirement, but that wasn't gonna fulfill the financial needs of.
Is there anything else you want to add before we end this interview, grandparents?
No, but I hope that you take what we've said to heart and prepare yourself for those challenges which invariably arise in everyone's life.
But remember those 3 words that are always there. I don't care what happens, who you lose, how heartbroken you are. With losing somebody close, life goes on.
That's true.
You got to deal with it, or it's going to deal with you.
Thank you for your time, grandparents.
You're welcome, Nick.
Hey, love you.
Love you, Nick.
Love you too. So after some thoughtful, engaging, and intellectual conversation with my grandparents, I decided to turn to a source that's more conformed with the age group that I've been discussing that is generally thought to experience these midlife crises. And that person is my mother. And as soon as you're ready, we can begin.
I'm ready.
All right. So my first question is, what is your definition of a midlife crisis?
My definition of a midlife crisis is, I feel like it's when somebody gets to a point in their life where they're really dissatisfied and they just kind of throw all caution to the wind and make a huge change in the way that they're living their lives. And I think if you're going to, if it's going to be a crisis, then they do it at the expense of their other relationships.
Oh, okay. What do you think causes them? Do you think there might be a physical aspect, like something in their brain chemistry changes, or do you more think along the lines of maybe environmental type thing, like an event happens, or do you think it could be a mix, or what do you think?
I would say it's more environmental than physical. I mean, I'm not going to say it's never physical because you don't know what kind of changes, especially with ladies when they go through menopause. There's a physical change in you, and I think that sometimes ladies, I should just say women, not just ladies, but I think women, they experience the change and they start feeling dissatisfied with, the way that their life has gone up to now, and they want to change everything about it. But, in that case, though, but that doesn't happen all the time because, women go through menopause every day, and you don't see them all throwing off their shackles and running off to a new life, so.
Yeah.
But I think it's mostly environmental or mental because I think you just, there might be some triggering action where you suddenly decide to take stock of your life and you decide that you don't like where it's headed to this point, and you decide,
Oh, okay.
So you throw all caution to the wind and go out and buy that car, or, people call it a midlife crisis car, but, it's not really a crisis if all you do is go out and buy a cherry red Corvette. It's more of a crisis if you decide that you're going to, up and leave your family and go, live with the waitress that you met at the Denny's. That's a midlife crisis.
Yeah. Well, moving on, do you think men or women are more susceptible to midlife or life crises?
Well, I think it used to be more men, because I think more men were in the position to kind of upend a life. I think that when men were the breadwinners and women were stay at home, it would mostly be men, because the man would be the one with the means to be able to kind of go, you know what, I'm unhappy, I'm walking out.
Yeah.
The women didn't really have the means to just, throw everything up in the air and walk away. And plus, most women wouldn't walk away from their kids.
Yeah.
So, but I think, that nowadays with more people entering the workforce and people doing things more equally, I think it could be anybody. It could be a man or it could be women. Because a lot more women have the means to decide that, they're not living the life that they wanted to live, and they don't have to stay in it.
Did you, or do you think you are going through a midlife crisis now, or, and if you think you are at least, are there any behaviors that, stand out that are indicative to you?
Well, I don't think I'm going through a midlife crisis. I think I'm kind of going through a midlife evaluation.
I like that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think I've been thinking about a lot of stuff. And I think that this kind of, it goes along with the point I made earlier about a life wants dissatisfaction. My life, I haven't had something in my life that I've been satisfied with for the past 20 years. So, I haven't felt the need to blow up my life and go take it off in a whole other direction. There's stuff that I want to do differently now than I've been doing over the last few years. I need to exercise more and stuff like that. But I don't feel any great need to blow up my life and, go make a 180 and start taking off in a whole new direction.
Yeah. Well, thank you for answering all of my questions, Mom. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Well, I just wanted to say that I think that the quarter-life crisis is a real thing. So I think that people are starting to have their crises younger.
Yeah.
Because I think that, not trying to bash anybody or anything, but I think a lot of times the way that people are being brought up now, they're expecting a lot more at a younger age.
Yes.
And I think they get to their mid-20s and they're wondering why they're not millionaires already. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it at work. I've seen it happen with people, ready to blow up their entire lives when they're in their 20s because they think they're supposed to be someplace where they're not. And I think the more it happens with, the more the younger people are expecting, then the earlier it's going to happen.
Mom, thank you for answering all my questions. I'll let you go now. Love you. Thanks for talking with me.
I love you too, buddy, and thanks for talking with me.
Of course. Even after talking with a couple of experienced citizens and my middle-aged mother, I still felt as if something was missing from my investigation. And that's when I realized that I still needed the input of another young adult besides myself. And I knew just who to turn to for that. All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so my first question for you is, what is your definition of a midlife crisis?
Wow. I guess immediately I start to think of what I've seen in movies and read in articles, so I think of men's midlife crises, not really women. I think of they dye their hair, they get a sports car or a motorcycle and start working out, want to date younger women type of thing. If I were to think personally about it, I'd probably think more like thinking back about the stuff I wish I had done before, maybe travel more to different careers type of thing.
Kind of like looking back with regrets.
Yeah.
What do you think, causes them? Do you think it might be, a physical thing, like a development part of the brain, or do you think it would be more, environmental, stuff going on around you?
I definitely think it's environmental. It's psychological. It's something that we see from childhood. Even today, I was watching TV and everything's just youth cream, look younger, look thinner, be this, be that. And it's they're programming you from even before you're anywhere near middle age, to prepare for middle age.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you're not even there yet, like myself, I'm kind of thinking, oh, I only have 15, 20 years before I'm there. Like, what am I going to do about it now? And it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I think about it.
I feel that. What age do you think, if any, is typical of, a stereotypical midlife crisis?
Now I would say 50, just because people are living longer and healthier longer. Before, probably 40, but I think 50 now, 50, 55.
Yeah, that's typically around, like, the middle age part, like 40 to 60.
Yeah.
But it's like, a lot of the times, like you said, now it's like, with the societal standards, it looks like midlife crises are going on, like, early, mid-30s, and it's just kind of a bummer, like you said.
Yeah, I'm closer to 30 than
Yeah. All right, so do you think men or women are more susceptible to midlife crises, and why?
Ooh. Okay, I want to say on the outside, probably men, just because that's something we see a lot. But I guess overall, it would be women, because, again, the makeup, the creams, the surgeries, everything just to lift it up, tighten it up, it's just women, probably.
So, this is kind of a weird question, seeing as how we're both in our 20s, but do you think, or have you gone through we'll just call it a crisis, a life crisis at this point, because, neither of us are at our midlife, and if you think so, were there any, like, behaviors that were, that stood out, that were indicative of why you think that?
Yes, I guess I'm going through a midlife crisis, being 25, I'm halfway to 50, and it was, I guess it's still kind of going on right now, but especially right before I finished undergrad, I was in panic mode because I was like, I spent 4 years in school to still not know what I want to do.
Oh no, I feel that right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I guess the behaviors, is that what the other part was? The behaviors I would exhibit? Panic.
Yeah.
It was panic, but I think I handled it pretty well. A lot of my friends were in the same place, so I had people to talk to about it and just, basically, I just try to keep moving forward, because I knew if I stood still and I didn't do anything at all, that would be worse. So I was like, okay, on to the next thing. If you're working, get a promotion. And I knew I wanted to go back to school, so it was like, figure out where to go, figure out where to apply, type of thing. And it's a little better now, now that I'm about to start school. Still a little panic, because I still have to figure out a career after that, but at least, again,
that's all of my questions. Is there anything you want to add to that, or?
No, I think I covered it all.
All right.
I'm going to just keep repeating myself.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for putting up with these questions, cuz.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. I believe it is important to note that while there is much misconception surrounding middle age and midlife crises, there is some truth behind the mythos. The psychologist Erik Erikson claimed that in the middle adulthood stage of life, most people struggle with discovering some sort of order and sense of self, but he may have overemphasized the extent of a crisis in middle age. He was right, however, in that some people, emphasis on some, experience self-doubt in their middle age, but, like in the case of adolescents experiencing strife in their teenage years, they are the exception, not the rule. Indeed, many of the symptoms of a midlife crisis could be put under the guise of, let's just call them, life crises. For example, divorce happens in the U.S. in, on average, the first 5 years of marriage, when males and females are both in their early 30s. With this in mind, it makes more sense that males and females are equally likely to experience what's known as a midlife crisis. Also, the purchasing of a dream vehicle, such as a sports car or motorcycle, when one is in their middle age, may have less to do with managing inner turmoil and more to do with simply finally being able to afford their vehicle. It seems that concern over having a midlife crisis is more common than actually experiencing a midlife crisis. However, with all of this information, it seems that the term midlife crisis would be more accurate if one were to simply refer it as life choices.